My name is Dave Tether. If you're an avid boater, avid sailor, you've probably seen me in several different magazine articles. I've been on the Discovery Channel on Beyond 2000 in various different news stories on the evening news, and basically have devoted the rest of my life to finding a way to clean up our waterways. In the early 90s, I read a book by a gentleman by the name of Andre Melee, and it's called Polluting for Pleasure. This book, which is dedicated to his children, jumped out and struck me. The dedication it says, "This book has been written for my children, Tina, Justin, and Palom, and the bill for our mistakes will come due on their watch." The other thing I learned from this book is that every year we spill the equivalent of 15 Exxon Valdez disasters into the waterways and the oceans. It's something that has really bothered me for a long time. I spent many years working for the United States Navy, doing various different test activities at the Naval Air Test Center and Naval Air Warfare Center. I worked for a while for the Environmental Protection Agency, for the Army, and very generally have been a boater all my life and loved being on the water. I learned over the years that the marine industry is a very harsh place for a fossil fuel motor. It's a hard place because of the power requirements. A car really uses most of its torque to get the mass moving, and then once the mass moves, you lift your foot up on the gas pedal and it kind of cruises along. Where for boats, the faster you go, the more torque is required. And it's very hard on fossil fuel motors. And when you add in the fact that they have to breathe saltwater air in and around the salt environments, or just moist air on our freshwaters and lakes and rivers, you find out that it's a very tough place for a fossil fuel motor to live. Because it's a tough place, fossil fuel motors in the marine environment start out not very efficient and do nothing but get worse every year. Those little drops of oil that get dropped in your bilge get pumped over the side. As the engine gets older, after it's got 2,000 or 3,000 hours and it's blowing smoke out the back, that smoke is mixed with water and is precipitating right down into the water. The water that's coming out your exhaust system varies in temperature from 160 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're not only pumping oily water out there, but it's oily hot water. We need to change that. We need to do it today. These pollutants from the boating industry, the equivalent of which is 15 Exxon Valdez disasters every year, we need to stop. And if there were no way to stop it, there were no other alternatives, I would be still searching for an alternative. I believe that we have been gifted with this earth, and all of its beauty and grandeur and benefits, and we need to take better care of it. The fact is, there is a way to take better care of it, and that's by applying the hybrid propulsion system, whereby some boaters can get away with no fossil fuel at all on their boats. Some boaters will require a generator, but it'll be a motor that's balanced and blueprinted to run at its optimum performance all the time. Because it's running disconnected from the load and not having to make too much torque, or not having to run at idle or make too little torque, either one of which is very inefficient, it will run much better, have a much longer life, and using the whole hybrid mentality, we can convert power in the boat to thrust through the water at double the efficiencies that were previously ever recognized. Beyond that, taking the hybrid mentality and applying it to boats allows us to then bring renewable inputs into the boat and actually use renewable inputs, whether they be from solar panels or shore power chargers, to propel the boat without using any fossil fuel at all. In the sailboat world, these hybrid systems, which have motors capable of regeneration, can literally go for days without using a single drop of fossil fuel. We owe it to our children to do this. Some of the initial costs of these systems are a little bit high, but the more people that get on board with the program, the more those prices will come down. It's a commitment. It's a commitment that we have to make now. We have to make it for our children's sake, or they won't have a world to inherit.